Welcome to Ag Matters, covering positive agriculture stories from across Alaska on Big Cabbage Radio.
Hello, everybody. You're listening to Ag Matters. I'm the host, Ken Hoffman. I'm a farmer out in Palmer. My business's name is Matsu Microgreens, but I'm also part of the Alaska Farm Bureau. I'm the executive director of the Matsu chapter of the Alaska Farm Bureau. And if some of our listeners out there want to start a career in agriculture or start gardening, you could always reach out to me at matsufarmbureau@gmail.com, or you could check out our website, alaskafb.org, and join through that. So today we have Ted Hammers from the Birch farm out in Talkeetna, and he called in today, and it's going to be a great time. So Ted, if you could introduce yourself and tell us how you got started with birch farming.
Yeah. Hey, Ken. Thanks for having me on. And I got to say, you've got the best microgreens in the state that I've had. So thank you for everything you do. So I'm Ted Hammers. I'm the Chief Birch Officer of Hammers Family Birch. We're, as you said, we're a birch operation out of Talkeetna. We tap about 6,000 birch trees out there. And with that sap, we do a few different things. We process it. The main thing we're known for is our birch syrup. We've been producing the world's best birch syrup for over 30 years. We also do other products with the sap as well. We just came out with the new wild fermented birch sap beverage. It's kind of like kombucha. So we tap the trees, we process it mostly into syrup, and then from there, we either bottle it and sell it direct to consumer. We have a lot of wholesale accounts throughout the state or directly to food service. We work with a lot of chefs and breweries, not only here in Alaska, but all over the country and the world. And then we also do a lot of other great value-added products, such as our slightly addicting birch cream caramels. They're delicious and addicting. And then our other confectionery products, and then as well as some wild harvested berry products, all from wild harvested berries out of the valley.
Excellent. So you said 30 years. Sound too young to have been tapping birch for 30 years. So what's the history with that? Did you buy an existing business? And what was that existing business? Maybe some of us are familiar with it.
You hit the nail on the head. I'm 33. So my daughter, who is 7 months, Lillian, we just welcomed her this last January. She got out there and she was tapping trees with me at the ripe old age of 3 months. But that was not my case. So my brother and I, we bought Kahiltna Birch Works and Alaska Wild Harvest about 2 years ago now. Kahiltna Birch Works is the preeminent birch syrup producer in the country. It was founded by Michael and Dulcie Ben East out on their homestead about 30 miles from Talkeetna. And yeah, they started it back in 1990 and really grew not only the business, but the industry into what it is today. They taught a lot of the other producers around the country how to make high-quality birch syrup, and are really considered the forefathers of the industry. So I got a lot of gratitude and honor to be carrying on their legacy of making this really high-quality product and ingredient.
Amazing. So I want to talk a little bit more about the operations side or the farming production side. You said you have 6,000 trees. How are they spread out? How many acres is that? And then also, do you have that tube system between the trees, or are you taking buckets out there and everybody's filling buckets, dumping buckets?
So we've got 6,000 trees on about 100 acres.
Okay.
About half of that is a lease through the Montana Creek Dog Mushers Association. So we're super excited to be partnering with them, given their prominence in the Talkeetna Willow area. And it's just a truly Alaskan organization. And then the other half of the property is owned by the Matanuska Borough. So for the trees we tap, we lease the land. We do 10-year leases. And this last 2025 harvest, our harvest is in early April generally, was the first year that we were solely on our new automated tubing system. So one of the first things we did when we took over the business was we installed this automated tubing system to help increase production and efficiencies. And our first harvest in 2024, we were still utilizing a hybrid. We were doing our tubing, but then we also were collecting from 3,000 taps that were on buckets. And then this year was our first year, like I said, that we got away from the buckets entirely, and we're now solely on our automated tubing system, and it's been incredible.
Amazing. So you invested in this tubing system, and you have 100 acres. Are you planning on adding additional acres or getting more tubes, or are you kind of at the size that you like right now?
Our biggest issue is meeting our demand. Birch syrup is an incredibly laborious, it's a labor of love. So, like, to put it in perspective, maple takes about 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. Birch, for us, it took us last year 135 gallons to make 1 gallon of syrup. Through the tubing system, we collect about 100,000 gallons of sap a season. That's over about a 3-week period. But we definitely have plans of increasing the amount of sap we can collect. We'd like to get at least another 10,000 trees online. But then one of the other things we've been really focusing on is trying to increase the amount of third-party independent producers up here in Alaska. So new this last year, we had one of our neighbors up in the Talkeetna area. He put in a tubing system, and we have an arrangement with him where we buy a lot of his syrup. And so not only, yes, do we have plans of growing ourselves and our own operations, but then also really trying to grow the industry up here in Alaska, because this is such a great natural resource that can be sustainably tapped into, and it's in almost every Alaskan's backyard. So while it's a labor of love, it can be a real great way to utilize your land and monetize it in a sustainable way without chopping down your trees.
Absolutely. So third party, are you purchasing other people's, say, birch water and then making it into sap, or how are you doing this? Is it a business partnership, or are you just assisting in consulting?
So we consulted with him. Michael and Dulcie also helped on the syrup making process itself. Birch Mama, Dulcie, she's the one who taught myself and my brother. And then she also lended her hand to this other producer. And so it kind of depends on the producer. In the past, we've bought sap, directly. But in this person's case, we're buying syrup. We're buying the finished product. And the reason for that is they're remote, they're off the grid, and during breakup, when harvest is, they have a very long road, but that road washed out. And so they used to supply us with sap, and then because of the road issues, it became not feasible after only like halfway through the harvest. So that's when they made the decision to invest in the equipment and the tubing system to produce their own syrup. So now we have a supply agreement with them where we have agreed to buy a certain amount of their syrup to help create a market here in Alaska for these types of producers.
That's great. So what if a homeowner had a couple birch trees in their backyard and they wanted to make birch syrup? How would somebody get started on doing this? Do they need to ensure that there's enough snowfall so that the birch have enough water to suck up? What minimum equipment do they need? Do they need to build their own sugar shack? How would this work?
So for the at-home producer, it's a relatively simple process. I don't want to make it sound too easy, but this is something that people have been doing for, hundreds, if not thousands of years. So really all you need is a drill. If you're going to put a bucket on your tree, you'll want a 7/16 drill bit. So you drill the hole into the tree with the 7/16 drill bit. You then have a tap, which you can buy online, or we sell them at our shop in Talkeetna. We also sell them out of our commercial kitchen in Wasilla, as well as online, alaskabirchsyrup.com. But you can buy a tap, and all you do is that's a 7/16 spout. You just hammer in the tap into the tree. You then set the bucket or a bag. Bags tend to be easier for the at-home producer because you can zip up the bag and then you don't have to worry about as much bark and leaves and bugs and all that stuff getting into the sap itself. So you drill the hole, you hammer in the tap, you then set the bucket or the bag on the tap itself. The tree will produce anywhere from a half gallon to a gallon a day. And then what you want to do is you want to take that sap. I would recommend if you're tapping a few trees, I would try to store that sap for at least a few days. I mean, it's going to spoil pretty quickly, but you can, especially if it's still cold outside and there's still snow on the ground, you can keep that. If you keep that sap cold, you're good for at least a few days. And the reason that you want to do that is because when you go to boil it down, it's going to take a whole lot of sap to make a very little amount of syrup. Like I said, 135 to 1. The general rule of thumb is about 110 to 1 for birch. And the reason that is because of the sugar content in the sap itself. Birch sap has a sugar content of about 1%. So when you go to boil it down, it takes a lot of liquid. So you want to start with a good amount of liquid. And then the biggest piece of information, the key thing to making your own birch syrup is that once you get it down, do not take your eyes off of the pot. You can do this on your stovetop. You just keep boiling that sap down, evaporating that water off. But once you're getting to the point of where it's getting pretty low, you want to make sure that you keep your eyes on the pan, because the second you look away is the second your birch syrup is going to burn, and it's going to be no good. A lot of people come to us and they say, oh, I've tried birch syrup and it was bitter. Well, the reason that birch syrup is bitter is because it's burned, which is very easy to do with birch. It's a very unforgiving sap because of the low sugar content. So my biggest recommendation is just take it low and slow, boil off all that water, and then once you're getting down, you want to have a refractometer to test like the sugar levels. Once you're at a sugar level of 67, that constitutes syrup across the board, maple, birch, walnut, whatever syrup you're making. So once you get it down to 67% bricks, keep your eyes on it and then get it off that heat and get it into something that will heat seal and store.
Okay, that's great. So I'm curious, I'm a farmer, horticulturalist. I'm wondering, is there any research out there to increase the sugar content in your sugar bush plantation? Can you fertilize, I say, a birch tree and possibly get that up? Or is that just kind of naturally, it's only going to be about 1% of the sap is sugar?
Yeah, I'm not sure about ways to necessarily manipulate the forest to increase production. Our product is wild harvested. All of our trees are wild. We do some management of the land, like mitigating dead trees that might fall down on our lines or putting in a couple trails, stuff like that. We manage the land in those ways, but really we let nature do its thing. We ebb and flow with Mother Nature. So in terms of increasing sugar content, I'm not sure, but what I do know is it tends to be the older the tree, the higher the sugar content. Our trees are roughly about 6 to 8 inches in diameter, which is about the smallest that you want to tap. It's a younger stand of birch trees, and so that could be part of the reason for the lower sugar content that we've been seeing the last couple of years, because I know this third-party producer we work with, he's got a stand of really old, big birch that you can't even wrap your arms around, and that sugar comes in at 1.5%.
Wow.
So when you're boiling it down so much, it makes a huge difference in the output. So I don't know about any artificial ways of increasing the sap or the sugar content, but definitely there appears to be a correlation between the age of the tree and the sugar.
Okay, that's fascinating. I want to talk a little bit more about your value-added product line. You said that you have some berry products, you have some candy. What products exactly do you have? And then how do you get the berries? Are you guys picking the berries or are you buying berries?
Yeah, our value-added products that we do on the birch syrup side is we bottle it. So we bottle and sell it under our own brand, Kilton and Birch Works. We have a pretty thriving direct-to-consumer business online, as well as a good amount of wholesale accounts, and those are growing every day. But then we also add our syrup to our confectionery products. So that's our Alaska Gold Nugget Birch Cream Caramels, which we produce over 500,000 individual caramels a year. And as of right now, they're all hand cut.
Wow.
So each piece is, hand cut, small batch piece of Alaska. And then we do our birch almond brittle. We also use our late run syrup for that in that product. And we also do, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, we also do a gourmet caramel sauce. So that's really delicious, especially on apples, for caramel apples. It's incredible with fall coming up. But so that rounds out our value added on the birch syrup side. And then the berries, we work with a network of pickers here in the valley. About 10 different families we work with that have been doing this for a long time. And so we buy blueberries, lingonberries, salmon berries. Sometimes we'll buy rosehip or eyebush cranberries. But the main three are salmonberry, lingonberry, blueberry. And we're buying in total about 3,000 to 4,000 pounds a year of those berries. And then once we take the berries, we obviously have our quality control steps to ensure they're up to our quality standards. And then we take them, we keep them in our walk-in freezer, and then throughout the year, we make all of our jams with those berries. So that's one thing that's kind of unique about our berry business, our brand Alaska Wild Harvest, is that our berries are all wild harvested right here in Alaska. We're not using any domestic berries. So it definitely makes it a little more costly, but I would say the quality is unmatched.
Wow, amazing. So tell us about your facilities, and do you guys offer any tours during the summertime? And also, where can people buy your products? You said that you work with a lot of distributors, but what are some of the main ones that you can purchase from?
Our retail shop and Sugar Shack is up in Talkeetna. That's located at mile 1 of the Spur Road. So right as you turn off there off the Parks Highway, we're right on the right side, and that's where all the magic happens during our harvest. We started doing our annual open house in April. So this year will be our 3rd annual open house where we open it up to the community. It's during our harvest, usually the weekend of April 20th, and we highlight how we're collecting our sap, making our syrup. We're making the syrup right then and there. You can buy hot off the press syrup. This year we had little silver dollar pancakes for the kids to enjoy with some hot off the press syrup. And it's just a really great family friendly event that we do, trying to show the community kind of what this very uniquely Alaskan product, agricultural product you can make, and just trying to highlight that. And then in the summertime, while we're not producing the syrup anymore because our harvest is only 3 weeks long, but in the summertime, our retail shop is open where you can try all of our different products. We do a farm tour, essentially, which is about 45 minutes long. It's $10 a person, and we start off with a little intro video, and then we take you out to a display on our property of what the tubing system looks like, so you can get a feel of what it was like tapping trees with buckets, and now what it's like now that we've kind of entered into the 21st century with all these sensors and this technology in the woods. And then we take you into our Sugar Shack itself, which is where we make the syrup, process the sap, and make our world-renowned Kiltna Gold. And so then we conclude the tour with a tasting of all of our different runs. And we make what's being called the best ice cream in Talkeetna. We don't actually make it. We partner with Big Dipper Ice Cream in Wasilla, and they do a Birch ice cream, and it's pretty incredible.
I agree. It is good. I've had that one.
Oh, right on. Yeah, thank you. It is. Yeah, Rob over there, he does great stuff.
Yeah. So, again, what are some great retail places? Do you sell your products at Three Bears or Fred Meyer's, Safeway?
Yeah, we're really focused right now on local distribution. We're not in any of the real big grocery stores. I mean, you can find our products online at alaskabirchsyrup.com or hfbirch.com. So we offer pickup in Wasilla. You can also find our products in our retail shop in Talkeetna. And then also locally, some of our retail partners include like Natural Pantry, Blue Market AK, Johnny's Produce, and then out in the valley, like All About Herbs, just to name a few. And then
Bush's Bunches.
Yeah, Bush's Bunches, exactly. Roaming Root, Bell's Nursery. There's a number of local stores that carry our products. And we are looking to expand our distribution into the bigger stores around the state. Like you mentioned, Three Bears, Fred Meyer. But right now, we're really focused on moving into a new commercial kitchen space. So currently, for the last 2 years, we've been renting the prior owner's space, which is a little less than 2,000 square feet, and we're going to be moving into a new 4,500 square foot facility here next month. So we're really excited about that, and we're excited about the increase in capacity that it'll bring, and just to have the breathing room. We've invested in some new manufacturing equipment to increase our batch sizes of everything. So we're just taking it one step at a time. First, it was the infrastructure in the woods. Now it's getting our production facility down pat, and then hopefully we'll be able to share all of our amazing product with more people here in the near future.
All right, that's super cool. Are you on any social media platforms? How can people get a hold of you? And also, are you at any farmers markets around the state? And is that where you're selling you called it a kombucha, Birch kombucha product?
Yeah, folks can find us on social media at Alaska Birch Syrup. That's our legacy Birch Syrup account. And then they can also find us at HF Birch. So that's like Hammer's Family Birch, but HF Birch. That's our new brand that we just launched earlier this summer in tandem with the South Anchorage Farmers Market, which has been an incredible outlet for us, not only to sell our product, but also just to introduce myself, because I'm relatively new here, introduce myself to the community and really get our faces out there, because we just launched Birch Brew. It's a wild fermented birch sap beverage akin to kombucha, but I would say much more neutral in flavor. Tastes more like seltzer water meets lemonade, but with all the health benefits, probiotics, antioxidants, amino acids, electrolytes, and no added sugar. So it's crisp, tart, refreshing. delicious and really good for the body. And yeah, so we launched at the South Anchorage Farmers Market, which has been an awesome time. It's been a lot of fun getting to meet the other local producers here in the state and just be one with the ag community. It's been incredible.
Yeah, I really enjoyed having you there and getting to see you on Saturdays, so it's been really fun. And thank you so much, Ted, for taking the time to come on our program and tell our listeners about birch syrup. It's super fascinating, and I would love to take a tour of your place in April. I'm going to look forward to that, so I'll follow you on social media so that I don't miss it.
Please do, and for updates and everything, social media is definitely the best outlet at Alaska Birch Syrup. Or online, we are continuously updating our website, so that's alaskabirchsyrup.com. If you're ever interested, we have a bunch of recipes and all sorts of stuff on there. So thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you, Ted. And thank you, everybody, for listening to Ag Matters and Big Cabbage Radio. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Ag Matters, covering positive agriculture stories from across Alaska. Ag Matters is a production of Radio Free Palmer, recorded at our studios in Palmer, Alaska. For more information about this program, email manager@radiofreepalmer.org.